What is happening, everybody? It's your boy. It's me. It is PLD.
And I'm Eric Jarvi. Welcome to Class Action.
That's right. The classiest show on the interwebs. That's your line. I took it from you purposely at that time.
I haven't used that in a while.
That's true. Well, it's been off for a couple of weeks. I mean, not really off, but it's been a while since you've been here. Last week, of course, we did the rankings where you were not up to, you were feeling a little under the weather. So it was sad that we didn't have you. And I got run roughshod by Danny and Kelsey over some of the franchises. I could have used a hand there, but I think I had enough to hold my own.
I felt pretty bad that I wasn't there. Definitely would have been some changes. Yeah, for sure.
Would Twilight have been even lower?
But, weirdly enough, I feel like Twilight, I like not my, like, I don't enjoy any of these movies, but you got to think about what it's done and learn how iconic it's become.
Man, you're breaking my
heart. Like you gotta give it credit there, even though like I'm not a fan, dude. Don't get me wrong, I am so not a fan. I wouldn't say I hate the movies because there's very few movies that I hate, but there's something there that should be acknowledged. I feel like because it's become one of the most popular like teen franchises ever. So.
All I gotta say is Danny and Kelsey are in the chat right now. If they're watching this, they're like giving me evil eye and giving me side eye there. And I'm like, you're killing me, Jarvi. You're breaking me down even further.
Dude, I'm with you.
Okay.
I just feel like, we gotta weigh all the options.
All right. Well, like I said, that was our last time before that was together a couple weeks ago. So this is feeling a little fresh. I got an interesting movie selection today. I think it's a little bit out of the realm of our usual wheelhouse. It's no action movies, really. We decided to go a little bit deeper, do a little comedies. Why not, right?
Yeah.
This seems like it's right up our alley. Like it seemed like I don't know how we didn't think about this one a long time ago in a way. Maybe because we were concentrated on action and stuff. But
the movie hasn't been out for a long time.
That's true. Well, I mean, as soon as it came out, we saw it. We loved it. We both loved Palm Springs when it came out. And we talked about it a lot. Like, this is great. So, I mean, I don't know how we just didn't go ahead and go, let's just go ahead and do it. But let's talk about it real quick. We got Palm Springs. That's our first choice there. The Hulu adventure from July of this season, starring Andy Samberg, Kristen Milotti, and J.K. Simmons. And, of course, being a time loop movie, it always inspires you to go back to the, I don't know if it's the original per se, but the original one that I can think of.
I think that's the first time loop movie.
That I can, at least the big one.
That's been made. Yeah.
I'm sure William Bibiani or somebody will be like, but actually,
probably
in 1970 there's another film. But this, as far as pop culture goes, Groundhog Day is probably the first to be all and end all of those. And I grew up with that one. And I loved it. I mean, it's funny. We were just mentioning before the show began, 1993, and yet it feels exactly like an 80s movie.
It is an 80s movie that's made in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's partially the creator. You got Harold Ramis and Bill Murray together who were big of these stripes and with I mean, it was Caddyshack, I'm sorry, and of course Ghostbusters and everything else. So it feels like a continuation of that, but still, it just feels great. I love both these films so much. I guess I'm a sucker for time loop movies. I think I can see another couple ones.
Yeah,
but I feel like maybe you can wax poetic on this with me. There's so many different avenues you could travel with a time loop movie. Like, you look at the two tones of these two movies; they're very vastly different. You have like the kind of like somewhat sentimental, somewhat family movie version, a little bit of Groundhog Day. I mean, there's some dated things in there that are a little bit cringy now. But then you got like the R-rated version of the modern version of Palm Springs. But I feel like there's ways you can go even further down either side. You can go like to a hardcore, like disturbing like version if you wanted to.
Definitely.
Definitely. In my mind, like, God, am I just a sick evil? Because I'm thinking
they've dabbled in horror a little bit, horror comedy. But I feel like that's like, because Groundhog Day it's so iconic that it's sort of, when you talk about time loop movies, you talk about like, it's a Groundhog Day type movie. You don't even say time loop anymore. You say it's the Groundhog Day type movie.
It's one of those like Die Hard, Die Hard and whatever. Palm Springs is Groundhog Day,
Absolutely. I totally lost my train of thought where I was going with this, though. Right. I want to say that I feel like that time loop thing will never really get old when we get like these fresh ideas and these new settings. Because it's really been done a lot now, but Palm Springs still felt fresh.
It did. Like it's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to say I'll bring you behind the scenes to how the sausage is made, so to speak. When we had our 5 categories, we actually had a 5th category we were going to use up until about 30 seconds before we began the show, and we realized it just kind of sucks the category. Our 5th category would have been which one's going to stand the test of time better, and just realize like, well, Groundhog Day has already done that, like by a lot. Like it's already still there. It's still, again, it's a Groundhog, and Palm Springs is a Groundhog Day movie in a whatever. Whereas Palm Springs barely came out, and I almost feel like, I don't want to say it's been forgotten already, but it doesn't feel like it's you're going to be talking about it in 10, 15 years.
That makes me sad though, because Palm Springs, I feel like could actually make it into my top 50 movies of all time. Wow. I think it's like it's my number one movie this year.
Wow. Okay.
Well, Tenet's. Yeah, I gotta let Tenet settle a bit. Probably Tenet is the number one, but like Palm Springs was. I don't know if I watched it at the right moment or was in the right mindset or something. It just clicked on all levels for me.
I get it, and I get it. I mean, I think I still have the way back over it. I think I was in my current films, but I did love it quite a bit. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. And you're right, it is a little sad, but I kind of get it at the same way too, because when you establish something like Groundhog Day, it's hard to have like a second establishment of that kind of movie. It's always going to be kind of like not in the shadow necessarily, but you can't talk about Palm Springs without mentioning Groundhog Day.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about like which would stand the test of time is Groundhog Day doesn't have any visual effects. Palm Springs uses quite a lot of CGI, and I feel like that's always the thing that makes a movie age more
tricky. Yeah, that's very tricky.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure like the rocks falling and some stuff with the cave that they go into, like it looks good now. I'm pretty sure it'll look kind of wonky in 5 or 10 years.
It could.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned that. I was doing some research along. Like I said, I watched this movie quite a bit. I've done some research over it. Research like I'm a scientist. I've read about it. They actually had the idea that one of the
you're a scientist.
Hey man, back off. I'm a scientist. It seems like that the writers or the creators of Groundhog Day did a lot specifically to make it timeless. To make it that way, like they specifically didn't make any 90s references. They didn't make any like they wanted to make it basically as close to timeless as possible. You don't think about it as much, which is an interesting aspect to bring up. But we'll get there too. Without further ado, we should talk about what we do on this show.
Let's do that.
We never did that, right? We put up 2 things against each other, usually, sometimes 3. Option A, option B, and put them up against each other in 5 custom-made categories. Usually, they're sometimes we have some. The old standby. We try to get some new ones that make sense with the film we're working on. At the end of the day, we decide which one has won. Sounds easy, and sounds like we would know what's going to happen beforehand. But it seems that quite often we are proven wrong. After the categories come out, I'm like, okay, you know what? That one actually makes a better point. So with the categories, you can have some upsets, so to speak. There's been plenty, right? I mean, I don't know how you feel now, but are you as surprised as I am?
With which one?
With just in general, like in general.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like the first thing that comes to mind is Tron Legacy beating out Ready Player One. That's like the most the thing I remember most, sort of, because I would say Ready Player One is better, and I would have never expected that you put Tron Legacy over Ready Player One. Break it down.
I know,
and that is the reason why we also incorporated the category segment of Snap Judgment, which we'll get to as well, because we think one might win. We gotta use the categories to break it down, and it might be different.
Yeah, and we'll find out. We got like to call our shot and then show our idiots. That's we do on the show. So, but no, other thing we should do, let know before we go into the categories. We have a couple of games we like to play. The ones that we do usually are my favorite one. What would Ed Harris play? Which is about basically my favorite actor, Ed Harris. If you haven't watched this before, you haven't seen me. You obviously haven't seen me anywhere, because my love for Ed Harris is kind of legendary. But I like to put him in all these films and recast him or write a new role for him and see how he can make it better. Because every time you put Ed Harris in a movie, it just makes it better.
Word.
I love that Jarvi plays alone on this one.
I feel like I'm starting to love Ed Harris. Like, I would never say he's one of my top actors, but you've influenced me so much that whenever I see like on Estonian television, like an Ed Harris movie, I'll go, oh yes, Ed Harris movie. Like, Paul would be so happy.
My job here is done. If I can get one person, and that's all I need. So, without further ado, let's do this one. We do it for both movies. We try to see what we can do. Why don't you start first with your which one do you want to choose first? I'll let you make that.
I'll go with Groundhog Day first.
Okay.
So that was the toughest one for me, and this is gonna piss probably you off.
Oh boy!
But I would recast Ed Harris as Phil.
Wow.
Yeah, like I want to see him as the protagonist. See him be this jokey, casual, kind of sort of self-absorbed, and see him go through that because, like we said before, he usually plays a hard ass, and I feel like he is a hard ass in real life in a good way.
Yeah.
But I always want to. It feels more amusing to put him in these roles that he might not usually be in.
Well, the funny thing is he can pull off these kind of roles. He doesn't get a chance to do it very often. And there's a movie out there that a lot of people don't like, and it's not a great movie. It's very dated. It's very weird. But Milk Money is a movie where he actually gets to play this kind of normal everyday. He plays a teacher, and he's very kind of like lighthearted on it, and it would actually kind of work. If I was to do that, I'd probably make. If I was to put him in the Phil Connor role, I'd probably make it a different movie. It wouldn't be as much of a comedy, but that's okay. I do like where your head's at. I kind of think where it could be cool.
I'll say again, like if I had to cast Ed Harrison, like I would never recast Bill Murray. I freaking love him, but just for the sake of this segment, I feel like it would be fun to think about that idea.
An interesting notion I want to mention is that actually there's a couple of actors that were considered for the role beforehand. Tom Hanks was considered.
Okay, Tom Hanks totally see that.
He turned it down because he said he thought maybe he was too nice. He couldn't come across as the dickhead kind of in the beginning.
Really,
that's what he kind of
thing to say.
That's what
actor.
He said that. He said that himself.
He's an actor.
I know. That's weird. He's like he has such a nice guy personality that just wouldn't ring true. Wow. Other ones, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was mentioned. I could kind of see Chevy Chase pulling it off. At that time, Chevy Chase anyway, the 80s Chevy Chase. And finally, interestingly, Michael Keaton. He passed on it because he didn't understand that later on. He definitely said he regretted passing on it. But those all three would be interesting choices to see. Quite honestly, to be honest with you, but
I think Keaton might be my favorite one. I feel like he's the goofiest, sort of, but in a charming. Like he has that charm that Bill Murray has as well. Like the goofiness and charm. So
it'd be kind of interesting to say. I like that idea though. Here we are saying Bill Murray's not recastable, but yet we are recastable.
Exactly. Yeah.
It could be fun though. I don't know. All right. For Groundhog Day for me, I decided to go a little outside the box here, and a little outside of why I like the movie, which I'm going to get into with some of our categories. I'm going to cast Ed Harris as God. In a way, you don't see him very much. You kind of see him throughout the movie. Just watching from afar, watching Bill Murray's antics. Like he's always going to be like in every scene somewhere, and you realize he's the reason why the time loop happened because he came down, just picked Bill Murray out of hat. So this guy's a dick. I need to redeem him somehow. And he just like kind of does things. He'll get involved somehow a little bit. At the end, there might be like a big scene between Bill Murray and Ed Harris. Like he realizes that this guy is always here. What did you do? What did you do? And just big moment like that. I don't know. Could be kind of zany.
I'm up here. You're down there. You need to redeem yourself.
You walked to the wrong goddamn small town. Oh God! That's what goes for that one.
That works. That works.
How about your Palm Springs? Your Palm Springs recast.
Okay, Palm Springs. I feel like my picks are a bit boring this week, but again, I would recast him as someone he probably wouldn't play, and I'd have him as the father of the bride.
Okay. I thought that one.
I don't want to say a dumb character, but he's so cardboard, sort of like over the top and weird and like I don't know,
eccentric guy,
emotionally sort of naive. I don't know, something like that. Let's see how he would pull that off.
I think it'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of fun. I think I like that. All right, I'm taking some risks with mine. Taking some risks with mine. Hopefully this comes.
You probably have him as Roy, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have him as Roy. I have him attached to Roy, though. In my game, I'm going to have Roy having lifetimes or however long the loop is of beating up Andy Samberg, torturing Andy Samberg, and just being lonely at it. Because every time he goes to the party, every time he goes to the wedding, he sees this one wedding guest. He sees Ed Harris. And one night, much like the night with Andy Samberg, he has a night like that with Ed Harris. And he falls in love with Ed Harris. And he decides to take Ed Harris into the loop with him because if he needs to be on this loop forever, he's going to have somebody to loop with him. and then Ed Harris and J.K. Simmons become a couple, and their new like romantic plaything foreplay is finding ways to energetically and entertainingly
kill Andy,
torture Andy Samberg to become these violent sociopaths, and that's the way they get out.
What about Roy's family though? That's you take that out, or
I'm taking that out. That whole aspect that he doesn't have a family in this film because we're just going to change the story around just enough, and they become like these psychopaths together, and it becomes kind of a funny thing. I don't know. I threw that one a little bit. I admit it was a little bit like last minute kind of thing I came up with at one point last night and into this morning, but I think it'd be funny. I don't know.
It would definitely take more of the seriousness out of Palm Springs, because the Roy moments and their conversation in the backyard, I feel like that's one of the best scenes in the entire movie, and it's very deep and it touched me a lot. And you should take that out. Well, not in a bad way, but it will be way.
It would change the movie a little bit. That's true. It's true. Well, all right, guys. You've heard our casting choices. I'd like to see what the chat has for some of your casting choices of Ed Harris. And also, who do you think won this week? Was it PLD or was it Jarvi?
It was you. Come on. So? Of course, it was you.
You know, I never bring us up in the chat unless I think I might have won. Oh man! All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment. This is one that we actually usually get a guest for. This week, it just didn't happen. So we were both kind of busy on stuff. Never got a chance to really talk to anybody about it. This is the public defender segment. So we came up with 2 public defender segments of our own, so to speak.
To give to each other.
To give to each other instead of having guests come on next week. Hopefully, when we'll get a guest back on, we'll see what we can do about that. But otherwise, Jer, why don't you explain public defender to us? You're always so good at explaining exactly what it is. I know you love it.
Sure, of course. So when we started the show, we felt like the legal theme is kind of a cool idea. We've kind of kept the name, but we kind of got rid of the structure. So, but public defender, it's basically an off-the-cuff list. So when we thought of the name, we thought of public defenders in movies. They are usually underpaid, they're overworked, they're stressed out, they don't have enough time to prep, so they might have to show up in court unprepared and would have to come up with things on the spot, off the cuff. So we figured we'd put ourselves in that situation and have a guest come up with a list that we've never heard before, or as we do it right now, give one to each other.
I like it. There you go.
Nothing against public defenders. We say it every time, and we mean it every time.
We might need it. No, we might need one
Yeah,
day.
definitely.
You
never know.
All right. Want me to give you one first, or do you want to give one to me first? Up to you.
I'll give you yours first.
Prolong your misery.
I'd like to. This is a pretty straightforward one. I would like you to give me a top 5 time loop movies.
God damn it! I was actually going to say something similar to that, like 5.
Yeah.
I was going to say top 5 time travel movies or whatever kind of thing.
But time loop movies, that's different though. If you can, because there's actually not that many.
Why don't we alter it? Let's do a list together. We'll do the top 5 time travel or time loop movies. You can kind of mix things together. I don't know if there's a lot of time loop, so we can make time travel involved as well. Just because it involves time, we'll do 5 time travel loop type movies we can throw together. Gives us enough of a broad list. I don't think I have enough of a time loop. I couldn't do time.
I feel like we can come up with 5 if we include the ones that we have.
I don't know if I can. I don't think of it off the top of my head. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Okay, but give me the first one that comes to your mind.
I don't have another one outside of Groundhog Day, and I can't think of any time loop movies right now that I can think of that are
okay, I'll give you one. Happy Death Day.
Oh, yeah, yes. How can I not think of that? We did that on the show. That's up there. That's definitely up there. Okay. Yes. More time loop movies. I can't think of anything today.
Jake Gyllenhaal on a train.
Source Code?
That's right.
That's right.
That's a really good one.
That is a really good one.
Dude, how did you not think about Edge of Tomorrow? We're canceling.
I'm canceling myself. I'm just not in a great place today. I'm not had coffee yet. I'm so done. Like, I'm panicking. All right. That's probably my favorite one. I think Edge of Tomorrow might be my favorite. Well, Groundhog Day might be my favorite. But Edge of Tomorrow is probably my favorite. There's a different categories though. Is there any more we're thinking of?
There's one on Netflix that I actually kind of enjoyed. It's called Arc with a Q.
Never heard of that one.
It's very much a B movie. It stars one of the Amell brothers, not Stephen Amell, but maybe Robbie Amell.
Okay, all right.
It's very cool. It's a sci-fi setting. It happens all in one sort of building type, factory type setting. I watched it with a friend and I was half drunk and I was eating pizza, but I remember it was surprisingly captivating. Sort of, I wouldn't say a good movie, but I appreciated the ambitious sci-fi take on it.
Okay. All right. I do think of one. It's not really a time loop movie, but there's definitely time loops in it. Doctor Strange has some time loops at the end where he has to keep repeating that.
That's true.
I don't know if it technically counts or not.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Exactly. But all right. Well, I guess we did do a top 5, but we did pitch things. Why don't we throw it out there? Let's just throw time. Since I was thinking time travel, let's just throw some time travel movies that you like in there. Gotta have Back to the Future. Back to the Future in there for me.
Yeah, Back to the Future has to be in there. I would even say Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah,
very much sort of gets in there.
Looper.
Wow, Looper, definitely. There was one time travel. Oh yeah, well, it's not really a movie. It's a dark series on Netflix. It's one of my favorite time travel stories ever. Oh, really? It's a German TV show that is mind-blowingly good.
Okay. Bill and Ted's. Bill and Ted, both movies about time travel.
So I've never seen a Bill and Ted movie. I know. I have. You know about my gaps. I have some weird gaps.
Wow.
That movie wasn't anything in Estonia. I'm not sure if it released here.
Okay.
So yeah,
I've been trying to watch them. I know the Bill and Ted Face the Music just came out. I gotta say this now. He's sleeping because my son's a pain in the ass. I love him, but he's never been quite a movie guy. But like he will watch some movies with me, and he likes time travel. So I've been wanting to watch Bill and Ted's. I wanted to watch all the first and second one with them, and then we could watch the third one together. We have watched the first one. We haven't. Then we got like interrupted because he wanted to watch Umbrella Academy. Because that season came out. He's big into Umbrella Academy, so we started watching that. We finished the season, so hopefully this week we'll go back and watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then finally I get to watch Bill and Ted Face the Music because I've heard it's really good.
People have the reviews have been pretty good.
Right, so I want to do that. So.
Same here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to watch there's 2 movies, right? Like before it's
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then Bill and Ted Face the Music. I think I'm going to pitch it right now. We'll have some kind of Bill and Ted's episode at some point. I don't know how we'll do it necessarily, but involve it somehow for me. So we'll do that.
We could do the first one versus the new one.
Yeah, we could do that, definitely, because they're definitely, or we could just do all 3 against each other. That'd be just 3 films. True. I haven't done too many 3-way films, but I kind of like that aspect of it sometimes. It kind of makes it fun.
You got to throw a threesome in there every once in a while.
Spices up the whole relationship, right?
Exactly. Moving on.
Last thing I'll throw out there was Terminator. The Terminator franchise is all about time travel here.
Right.
So that's kind of a cool thing as well. So, I gotta say, off the cuff, we didn't have a guest, so we didn't work it out quite as well as we usually do. We got to I've loved it, but it's my fault as far as I couldn't think of any type of movies because I don't know. It's not in the right space for it, I guess, today.
That's kind of the point of the public defender segment, sort of get ourselves panicked.
Totally did. Totally lost.
I'm not sure why we do it to ourselves, but we...
I get so much anxiety. Like a guest pops on the screen and starts saying something. I'm like, God, how am I going to look so bad? I'm going to totally be a fraud in this whole setting as some kind of movie pundit. If I am, I don't know what movie pundit, but... All right,
you're a movie scientist.
That's right. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. That will lead us into our snap judgment, which we mentioned earlier. This is where we just decide which one we think is going to win. It's our gut instinct, and I gotta say, at least half the time, we're wrong, or it's a lot closer than we think. But this one, I really actually have a very strong feeling which one's going to win.
Yeah,
I do. I think Groundhog Day has this.
Yeah, me too.
I think this one might be the easiest one. I mean, I'm still going to have fun talking about Palm Springs a lot because I did love the film. But I think at the end of the day, Groundhog Day is timeless for a reason, more than you even think. So that's my snap judgment.
Well, we wouldn't have Palm Springs without Groundhog Day.
Right, exactly. So, all right. Well, let's get into our categories then. Here we are. We got Palm Springs versus Groundhog Day. We got 5 categories that we do. And I'll list them out first before we go do a deep dive into each category. First category is going to be the better protagonist. You got Bill Murray versus Andy Samberg. Which one really gets it done for you in a way.
Which could be a better character, could be the better actor,
better performance, better there's a lot of aspects, better character arc, or anything. Yeah, it goes into it. So, 2, better hijinks. Can't have a time travel or time loop movie rather without hijinks, because they always they take advantage of things, or it takes advantage of them sometimes when they're feeling down. But either way, it's a lot of fun talking about those. Better number 3, call it the better supporting duo. Both films actually have 2 characters that are kind of interacting with our characters throughout. In Groundhog Day, you have Annie McDowell, of course, as Phil Connor's love interest, and you got Chris Elliott as the cameraman, who is a kind of a side character, but definitely gets involved with some of the things here and there. On Palm Springs side, you got Kristen Milotti, who's the secondary lead there with Andy Samberg, and the other supporting actor in a way, one of my favorites of all time. On that, not quite on that Harris plane, but right below, J.K. Simmons. I love him and everything he's in as well. So he's our other part of that supporting duo there. Category number 4 would be better loop setup. This is actually a very interesting discussion we're going to have on that. I think I like a lot of different things, whether or not it starts out. I'll get into it later. Better loop setup, how they set up the time loop and how we get out of it. Then finally 5, like we had better. Like I said, we had things because of the test of time. Scratch that, made it too easy. And instead, we're gonna go better setting. Setting of the
feels
film.
Like it feels so dumb that I didn't think of it. Like
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Oh man. So that's what we're gonna go with here. Let's go right back into it without any further ado. Better lead actor, better lead character rather. Bill Murray as Phil Connors, or Andy Samberg as Niles. I don't think we ever found out his last name. But
I don't think we do. And then Phil Connors, right? Because on IMDb, it's just Phil. He doesn't have his last name, so it's sort of I
think probably remember when Ned Ryerson probably said Phil Connors. All right, I'll take the lead on this one.
Go ahead.
I feel almost bad, but because
I know what you're gonna say.
Andy Samberg is phenomenal in this film. In Palm Springs, he's a great. I love Andy Samberg.
It's his best work so far. I feel.
I think it's definitely his best work. He definitely has a dramatic section to it, which doesn't have in a lot of his films. But he also has the zany comedy and the outrageous, like borderline, not offensive, I guess, but edgy comedy that's been well known for him. Dick in a Box and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how the film opens up with him masturbating. Like, well, after he can't have us with his girlfriend,
right?
Right there. Shit. You're fat. Like, it's like, wow. Okay, this is what this film is going to be. Okay, he's great. He's awesome. He's funny. He's but it's Bill fucking Murray. Bill Murray is a classic in every sense of the word, and I don't think he could. Anybody, we talked about recasting him earlier. There's a reason why you can't recast him is no one can do this like cynical, like dickish character and yet make you still love him to death. You want to follow him. You want to you laugh at everything he does. You still root for him away. Even at the same time, you're like, God, this guy's a dick. But he can help it. And he does it so well. He's got this timing, this comedic timing that few people have. It's so perfectly done. Like the film itself, it takes this great arc of meshing together something that could be considered overly sentimental, but then it's got this overly cynical side as well. There's some dark moments in Groundhog Day which kind of gets glossed over because it's like this 80s almost fun movie, but there's some moments in there where they're pretty dark as well. You have all the times he's try to end it all, and then you have the time when with the homeless man where he's trying to save the homeless guy every day. It gets worse and worse and everything else. There's just moments in there that Bill Murray can pull off and make a zany comedy one moment and then a dark side the next. And I don't think anybody can do that, even Andy Samberg, as well as he does. And Andy Samberg seems cynical almost throughout. Even his comedy bits are kind of cynical in a way, kind of tired,
But that's what I feel like deepens it a lot. It's also the fact that he doesn't know how long he's been in there. He doesn't remember his job. That's a really, and also I would remind you the moments in J.K. Simmons' backyard where they're having these conversations. So
I agree. I definitely agree. That's part of what makes it so good. But I think that Bill Murray plays the balance so well that I can't not give it to Bill Murray on that.
Yeah, you're going Bill Murray. I pretty much knew you were going to say that. I think I'm the bigger fan of Andy Samberg than you are. I think I'm on the level of Ben Bateman, the way he loves Sandberg. Like I'm like a huge Sandberg guy.
Okay, all right.
But it's still fucking Murray. Like truly, I really want to give this to Sandberg. I just can't. I can see because I can see Sandberg's. I wouldn't want to replace him, but he's replaceable in a way in that role. Bill Murray feels like, well, maybe only Ed Harris could replace him. But there's no way I could ever replace him. So definitely everything you said. Although I do give lots of credit to Sandberg as well, who balances out his comedy with some darker stuff. I feel like there's a lot of like deeper thoughts in there.
I will certainly say that
very well.
I'm not gonna. I don't say that lightly. I don't. I like Andy Samberg does a phenomenal. There's no slight on Andy Samberg, man. I'm right with you. I love Andy Samberg. A lot of stuff. It's just hard to tackle that kind of legend that way.
Yeah.
The fact that he does so well that it makes it even a conversation shows you how good Andy Samberg did.
Very much so. Well said.
All right. So you got that one down. All right, go on to the next one. Go better hijinks because all time people have some great hijinks. Why don't you start with this one?
The better, I call it the better shenanigans because I'll be honest, like the word hijinks, never heard it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no idea what that word. Like when you said it to me, I'm like, huh? Is that
word? I like it. Learn it.
But this is definitely the Palm Springs category. Now, the Palm Springs is the reason why I wanted to talk about this category.
Okay.
Because I hadn't watched Groundhog Day in a while when I saw Palm Springs first, and like some of my favorite, my favorite part is still this J.K. Simmons moment, but the second favorite is definitely when they get up to just wasting time with Kristen Milotti, like taking the airplane, crashing it, doing like so many suicides. Okay, they're not even suicides. They just kill themselves for fun because, well, they're having fun and shit happens. They're driving the car. Kristen just flies off the back roof and just Andy laughs about it. They're like, what is going on? They're laughing about death here. And it's not, I don't want to say that death is something to joke about, but it makes you want to take things more lightly, you know, sort of, there's ways you can make jokes about death as well. And the things that Sandberg said he's done as well, like once made it to Equatorial Guinea, like got high on crystal meth and made it to Equatorial Guinea. But then I watched Groundhog Day and I was surprised by how many like shenanigans he gets up to as well. Like the first time I really laughed out loud is when he punches out, like, I always want to say Stu. What's his name?
Ned Ryerson.
Ned, right?
Ned Ryerson.
He's like, Ned! Just clocks him. And the stuff with the drunk guys.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to get them home and
they're on the train tracks.
Yeah, that's right. But I feel like Palm Springs definitely banked more on these hijinks, and I gotta give it to Palm Springs for the creativity, and for going to places that Groundhog Day doesn't go to.
I gotta tell you, at this moment, I still don't have a decision in my head, so I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. I agree with you that Palm Springs went there in a lot of different ways, and that was part of the reason why it had that R rating, or not R rating, but like the R rating. I don't even know if it's R rated, but R rated.
I think it has to be R rated because there's like they do so many drugs like pretty graphically.
Right. I just don't know if they had to do it on Hulu.
Oh yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not R-rated.
They don't have to rate things either, but it's definitely R. Either way, it's a kind of a moot discussion. Well, it's R-rated humor. It's definitely R-rated. They definitely can go there in a way that Groundhog Day didn't or couldn't. But again, Groundhog Day does a famous scene with the groundhog. You know, don't drive angry. Don't drive angry. They're going off the quarry. I'm over the quarry. Yeah, this whole section where like they even make it a monster movie for a second. Like, oh, you just they block him in the quarry and you just hear like,
yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And it comes out. There's some great moments. They actually do some death moments in there. They do have those suicidal moments, but they're done pretty funny as well. Like I love the whole. He just goes downstairs, walks downstairs. Everybody's talking to him. He just grabs a toaster, walks back upstairs. Next time. So great ones there. But then the other hijinks they have, Bill Murray like uses this time to like better himself in a way. It's part of the character arc. You kind of got to get it. I should have got into more in we kind of our first category went more with Bill Murray versus Anna Sandberg instead of Phil Connor versus Niles in a way. but like, he uses this to like he learns piano, he learns sculpting, and
Right.
part of it's in a way to like win Andy McDowell over.
Mhm.
That's the reason why, but all these things he does, he goes through these phases where like it's almost a disconnected movie because he goes through these phases of trying to like he goes through a phase of trying to help people, like catching the kid, helping the homeless guy, helping. He has it's a list of things he's got to do every day to try to help people out. But then he goes through these times where he just does whatever the hell he wants to do and like takes money, the larceny from the armored car. He goes, all right, 5, 4 waits a minute. All right, walks. It's so perfect. And I like actually another one I like better the hijinks shenanigans is when they reveal what they're gonna like. For example, Andy Samberg reveals some things like, oh, he knows what's gonna happen. But it's nothing as good as the diner scene where Bill Murray talks to Andy McDowell, and it just correctly goes back and forth about everything that's going to happen. This is Gloria. This is Hope. This is whoever. It's like mind blowing. And one of my favorite moments is the whole sequence where she figures it out for a second. He like tells her something, and also he goes beneath his breath. All right, doesn't like this. Like, wait, what are you doing? Why do you call my friends? What is going on here? And then, of course, he goes back to it. Also, he goes from like, that's fine. I studied French literature in college. What a waste of time. So, like, I love the hijinks. I'm going to go with Groundhog Day again.
Yeah, I figured you were talking yourself into it.
I was talking myself into it. And it's not saying wrong. I mean, I love the hijinks. I love it. But a lot of the hijinks tend to be more, have a reason that Bill Murray's kind of like got a little zany for different, like, less like, they're more specific hijinks per se than Palm Springs, which I felt. But I'll go with that. I'm going to go with Groundhog's Day. But it's close. It's another close one. All right, let's move on then. Better supporting twosome. You got Andy McDowell and Chris Elliott on Groundhog's Day, and you got J.K. Simmons and Chris Melati on the other side.
Chris Melati and Chris Elliott, these names are so similar. I just realized.
Sure. I'll lead this one.
Go ahead.
I'm going to put it right out there. It's Palm Springs for me. This one's Palm Springs for me.
Easily Palm Springs.
Okay, we'll go with that then. Because I love Andy McDowell's character as far as like she's the perfect character, but she's kind of like
she's America's sweetheart.
Yeah, it's a blank role for her. There's not you'll get too depth with her. She's definitely that love interest only in a way. Whereas Kristen Milotti is a full-fledged love interest, not just love it. I'm saying full-fledged character of her own right. She's actually pretty much it's like a co-lead, and she is. Maybe that's partially because, and here's the reason why. Partly it's because she's in the time loop. If Andy McDowell was in the time loop, it might have had a similar feel, but without that, you got to give it to Chris Milotti. Has much more of an arc, much more of a character, much more development, and she's sassy as hell. I love her. She's sassy.
She's so awesome. She deserves way more roles as well. I feel like this is her. I think it's one of the biggest things she's done so far.
Yeah,
I feel like she can definitely lead movies.
Yeah, she did the last season of How I Met Your Mother, which is always a critically panned season of. I don't like that. I didn't hate it as much as other people did, but I get why it wasn't liked. Okay, so we're both easily going Chris Milotti in this, and then the other one is there another? I mean, I love Chris Elliott. I love Chris Elliott too, and he's great in this role. He's perfect in his role. He's got some great moments. Like he's got some great quotable lines. He's out of his gourd. When he tries to pick up the girl that Bill Murray had already taken care of, like earlier on, he picks up the I don't know, I don't say easier woman there, the high school girl or the former high school or whatever, and doesn't do it, and then he puts himself up on auction. Like, do I hear a quarter?
No one bids.
No, the old lady went. He's like, that was funny as hell, and he's great, and he does a really great job of what he's asked to do. But J.K. Simmons, man, J.K. Simmons is just hilarious.
Like the first moment he shows up with his bow and arrows,
right?
I can run, but I always get you.
And then, like you've said before, twice now, I've talked about it, so I know it's for you. That whole backyard scene when he just has that dramatic moment, and it comes across very well, very deep in a comedy. It's a very deep moment. And funny enough, I gotta say, I forgot about the mid-credit scene. The second time I watched it, like I watched the first one, watched it and loved it.
Great scene.
Watched the second film, watched it the second time like 2 days ago, and turned it off as soon as the credits started. I completely forgot about it until this morning. I looked at it. Oh my god, there's a mid-credit scene. I went back and like, oh yeah. Although it is a little weird for me, because like it brings up this part. Does Andy Samberg not remember meeting him ever? Like
that's sort of where the plot holes come into play because.
He should remember.
If that's the case, no, he shouldn't have remembered him because they threw themselves out of that timeline.
Yeah, but
But if they threw out of that timeline, there should be two of them in the new one then. So Andy and Kristen should have their counterparts in that new timeline. Then
maybe that's what it is, because they actually have the scene at the end where they actually remember, because as soon as they get out of the time loop, they're in that pool where the pool owners come home, and everyone goes, "Well, I guess I come home today." So they have obviously memory of the event. So is the Andy Samberg that's at the wedding a different Andy Samberg?
Yeah, dude, sequel idea.
Right? I don't know.
They have to get along in a world where they're counterparts, though.
Right? And how does that work? I don't know. It's kind of like left vaguely open, which is okay. It's fine to have a vague openness in a way, especially with an ending like that. But it did throw me for a loop a little bit. But we're way out of line now. We're talking about J.K. Simmons. But J.K. Simmons is great, and he does. He's like I said, he's before it to me. He's taking that Harris type character. I've never seen him do anything but add gravitas to a movie. So I'll go easily J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, exactly. He brings gravitas, and he's so freaking funny. The moment when they're in the bathroom, like, where the shit.
Right. Okay. Let me say something real quick. All right. So that we go to better loop setup. It's kind of it's a hard category to name.
It is.
But what I would say is the idea is that I came up with this category when I pitched it to Jarvi is that we start the movie. Groundhog Day, you see him before the loop, and then you see him go into the loop somehow, and you see his arc and how that affects him, et cetera, et cetera. Palm Springs decides to go a different avenue, and I've read that they actually did this specifically to counter Groundhog Day. They said this is one way they wanted to differ from Groundhog Day. We start the movie, and Andy Samberg's in the loop already, and we go from there. Interestingly enough, Groundhog Day initially was going to have a scene to show how it happened. The studio wanted to see. I mean, I shouldn't say it was going to, because both the writer, the director, and Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, and the Rubin, I think his name is. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do a little research here real quick on the spot. Great radio. Danny Rubin. Yep. They had the scene where they didn't want to show it at all. They wanted to. Well, they almost started the same way as Palm Springs. Bill Murray in the loop. They actually had a voiceover where Bill Murray was going to say, I don't know if it was day 1 or day 1,000. It was going to go into that kind of thing. But then they decided they wanted to show Bill Murray get into it. So it's like, okay, that's an interesting aspect. But the studio wanted them to write in something where they found out that it was like, why did he go in this loop? I don't get it. Why is he in this loop? And Rubin hated the idea, but I guess I could have a jilted lover put a curse on him, or I could have a mad scientist do something. None of what you like. The way they got around it, so they told themselves, they kind of grouped together and said, you know what we're going to do? We'll pitch some weird idea. We'll save it to the end of shooting. And if we don't get to it, fine. If we do get to it, time, we just won't put it in the movie anyway. And so they got away with doing it. Whatever, I don't know exactly how it went down at the time, but they got to do what they wanted to do.
But they don't really explain.
They don't.
Why?
They get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that to me is part of its charm.
It is.
I've decided.
I
actually love the idea. It's timeless and everything else. You don't need to know. It's kind of almost pandering in a way. And it's not a knock on Palm Springs attack, because they did it for a very specific different reason. It was to see the different angle of it. So I do like that aspect too. It's kind of funny. It was a great way to open the movie to see Andy Samberg doing his thing, and you're kind of like, why is he acting like that? He's kind of acting a little bit off kilter than you would see, like when you see him go through these motions that we don't know, but for him it's like the 1,000th or millionth or whatever time. And when he's just like so bored of the whole thing, it's like, well, why is he acting like this? What is it? He's kind of acting off in a way. And then the moment the arrow hits, and he's not surprised, and like he's like, fuck, and he starts running away. You're like, what the fuck is happening here now? And then you get him to the loop, and you see him do the loop, and you're like, and everything clicks in and it makes sense. And it's just kind of like a wow moment. But which one's better? Which one's the better setup that way?
Did you not think about like which the specific like why I wanted to have this category is also to talk about how Andy and Kristen get out of there. Like they go, like she goes to school pretty much to get herself a degree in quantum physics, which is like that is exactly what you I feel like to do something original in a time loop movie. That's what you do, like because you've thought about it. Like Bill Murray learns piano and stuff like that, and they take it a step further.
Yeah, no, that's right. It's actually funny they mentioned that too. Like doing some reading. They mentioned that Ramis was thinking he was there for a lifetime. Harold Ramis said he thought Bill Murray was in Groundhog Day for like a lifetime, almost that long. Whereas you said yourself, Andy Samberg can't remember. I don't know if he can't remember his job, or if he's just kind of like being playful about it, or like I couldn't tell. It was like a little.
I feel like he doesn't remember. Like seriously,
could be. But you're right. They take this thing where she learns all quantum physics, and like, wow, holy shit, that must take a long time for to do. And same with Bill Murray doing the same thing. So, but she does worry about getting out of it, and she finds a way to get out of it. Whereas Bill Murray just kind of does his thing and eventually does the right thing enough to let himself out of it. We don't even know necessarily what it is. Is he redeemed by being the nice guy with Andy McDowell, or maybe he's found true love and found his humanity, so to speak? There's moments where it's like left so open-ended. But again, that's almost part of its charm in a way. I guess they both have good endings. I like them both that way. I mean, you get the ending where like they explode, and then you see him on the pool, and you're not quite sure if it worked or not until the neighbors come home. Like, okay, there you go. That's good. But God, I keep talking because I'm trying to convince myself which way to go because I love them both for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly, and they are different with that setup. So Palm Springs takes a more practical approach solving the time loop, and that is that is my reason for picking Palm Springs.
Okay,
because I feel like I do like the romantic aspect of not knowing and have Bill Murray have this sort of something happens inside himself or he helps people, we don't know, but I do like that it's defined in Palm Springs. They do grow as people as well, but to get out they still have to do something practical. They have to science the shit out of it, for lack of a better word.
I like that. Back off, man, I'm a scientist. That's the subtitle of this show. Back off, man, I'm a scientist. Not even in this film. It's Ghostbusters, for Christ's sake, with Bill Murray. I think I get what you're saying. I honestly it's kind of almost be a cop-out kind of an answer, but each of the setups and each of the endings are perfect for the movie they're in.
Yeah.
Palm Springs is much more practical, much more in-depth, much more edgy, and it's much more it's hard to say realistic when you're talking about a time loop movie, but it takes a realistic approach to it.
Yep.
Whereas Groundhog Day is an 80s movie. It's a sentimental, like, I won't say fluffy, but it's more vague, more of that, like, you don't need to know. I go the 80s movie version for me because it's just fun. And it might be a purely nostalgic reason, but it's the only thing I got to go on, I think, is that I think I just like that aspect of better, that you don't have to know everything. You can imagine it for yourself. I almost feel like, to a degree, Palm Springs gets just a tick down because at the end of the day, it's kind of like it tells us why, but it still doesn't really tell us why. What this fucking big weird pink bubble light in a cave somewhere in the desert, that's going to link into this loop.
I love the sci-fi aspect of it.
It's a sci-fi thing, but it's almost like that's kind of stupid. It's almost like any reason you have to have it happen is stupid. Like it's like it takes a moment of like going, okay, I got to accept that. Whereas if you don't know, it's kind of like, oh, I don't even know why it is. You can it's funny, you can more easily accept not knowing, because then it's like it could be something that's ingenious that I haven't thought of that that it makes sense for me that way.
No, I get it. But
you bring up a movie, Happy Death Day versus Happy Death Day 2. Like Happy Death Day, go into it. I love that aspect, and while I love the sequel, and it goes into a more sci-fi aspect, I did think that was one of the lesser aspects of Happy Death Day 2, is in terms of they actually decide how it all went down. They go into it that way. That took away a little bit of the magic for me, a little bit, to be honest with you. I guess I love magic.
I like when they go there and take these risks. So that is exactly like, and I love what they did in Happy Death Day 2, the fact that they sort of over-explained it and brought in this totally new sci-fi thing.
I guess it is. I like magic, you like sci-fi.
Yep.
That's good. That's fine.
Agreed.
I think I like both. I love both. It's not like I dislike Palm Springs' approach. If I haven't done, I'll lean more towards Groundhog.
What do you do when you take magic and you put sci-fi together? You get Star Wars.
Brilliant. All right. Let's end up then with better setting. Why don't you take the lead on this one?
So the wedding versus the Groundhog Day. This is where I approach it again from a very personal standpoint, like which I would rather get stuck in. And I would easily like to be at a wedding party. I feel like the Groundhog Day, though, it's a larger world because it's a whole town that they're in, and you like, if I just wanted to, do dumb stuff, there'd probably be more to do. But something about the wedding and the fact that he has his own sort of escape as well, like the house that he goes to sometimes, and the fact that he went to Equatorial Guinea and stuff like that. But a wedding, that is not a bad setting to be stuck at, because Bill Murray has to pretty much do his job, and he doesn't have that much time to, well, eventually he does. He doesn't have to do the job. But again, it feels like wedding feels like you're just going to have a party. Groundhog Day feels like you're going to a job.
So you're going Palm Springs.
I'm going Palm Springs. I feel like you are not. Because I get it. The wedding can get boring, and it got boring for him.
It's the same people over and over again.
Yeah,
you get to
know them, but they don't know you,
right? And so it's almost more frustrating in a way. Where Groundhog Day, you can go like from person to person, have like a whole lifetime with somebody, like a couple of days with somebody trying to get to know them, and you can move on to the next person, hang on to that person. I mean, it's a little bit, I don't mean, by the way, I'm not saying like sexually or anything like that. I'm just talking about just in general having fun with them. Although there's that aspect of both.
It takes a lot of work, according to Andy.
That does.
Have sex with someone.
Yeah, on one day's notice. You know what I mean? Bill Murray does that too. But he does he does the smart way of getting to know them, figuring it out, and next day he comes back with fully armed and ready to go. I do like the small town aspect of the Norman Rockefeller kind of thing. I feel like you have a lot of opportunities you might not have in the wedding. Although I say that, and he gets to Equatorial Guinea, so obviously he can try to get, and he drives to where I forget where J.K. Simmons is, but he drives to J.K. Simmons' house. Gets there too as well, so you can go anywhere you want to go. You're just going to come as far as you need a day's travel to do it. You can get there today, and then you're going to get sucked back into the wedding party. Oh man, it's tough to say. I do love the aspect of how they set up the world in terms of they did these kind of things, like they keep Bill Murray in the small town for a reason, because they wanted to keep it in this like timeless loop. They wanted the movie to feel more claustrophobic. That's why he never left. They actually had scenes where at one point they talked about him leaving Puxatawny, but it didn't end up working out. That's a great name. I love that. Puxatawny. Yeah. Puxatawny Phil. I had the Groundhog. Wow. All right, I'm gonna have to say Groundhog Day for that one as well. Barely. But it's not a close one to tell. But we have a problem now.
Do we?
We have a big problem.
Are we tied?
We have a hung jury at this point. We are tied 5-5.
Wow. Okay.
We both chose Bill Murray. We split on hijinks. We both chose the supporting duo, and then we split on the better setup and the better setting. So we're going to have to figure out a way to make this right, so we don't have a hung jury. We need some kind of final thing.
We didn't prepare for this.
We did not prepare for this. We
usually, because we can't really incorporate the sixth category as well, because that's again why we didn't use it, because
it didn't work out very well. Maybe we should. That's why we lean towards Groundhog Day for that reason, because it's more it's more of the influential that came first. I think we have to lean towards that in a way. Without anything else to really bring up.
I'm okay with it.
So we'll give it like the asterisk.
Also, our snap judgment, it was in that direction as well.
All right, so we're gonna say at the end of the day, we have to make these hard decisions sometimes. We don't want to leave it a hung jury, so to speak, as we called it a tie 5-5. That means Palm Springs did a hell of a job, though. It did a hell of a job, a hell of a fight. At the end of the day, if you're thinking about movies that are better at the end of the test of time, getting out of the categories, Groundhog Day is going to be the one that people think of first when it comes to these kind of movies. So I'm going to give the edge to Groundhog Day as a more long-lasting one that's going to stand the test of time. Are you okay with that?
Weirdly, I'm thinking myself out of the idea, and I kind of want this to remain a tie.
I don't want to do ties. Can't do ties.
Yeah, Americans don't do ties.
No, we don't do ties very well. So
people would riot.
But I will say it does quite a deal. So we're going to declare Groundhog Day the winner. Although, damn, Palm Springs, congratulations for putting up the best fight we have seen in a long time.
Okay.
Did, so.
I'll accept it.
All right. Fine. All right, everybody. Hope you in the chat. You can decide what you have to say about this. Maybe the chat will overrule us in a way. They say the Groundhog Day is worse than Palm Springs. I don't know. I'll have to see what they have to say. But without further ado, we have where can the folks find you, Richard?
You can find me at Richard Eric with a K Jarvi on Facebook and Instagram, and of course on Class Action Weekly on Action Industries.
That's right. And speaking of Action Industries, we didn't actually mention this earlier. We are on Action Industries. Thank you, Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, for giving us a little slice on the interwebs on your channel. We appreciate that. They got some stuff coming on. They're going to have Action Guys tomorrow. I think it's going to be a later night tomorrow than usual. They're going at 7 p.m. Pacific. They're doing a lot of good stuff on the network. They have Action Unfiltered. They have Action the Film Food. They have the General Debate every other week, which is a lot of fun. As where you can find me on Class Action every week with this guy, and sometimes live. We're going to pitch some live episodes again soon. Hopefully get some other guests involved. Got some ideas in mind. We were talking about a lot of stuff before the show where we want to do our Mission Impossible tourney was very successful. A lot of people seem to like our Mission Impossible tourney. So I want to try to do something like that in a way if we can, without making it a stale conversation. That was the one downfall of it. We kind of got a little bit out of control with some of it. We kind of repeated some of the things.
Kind of repetitive, yeah.
So I want to try to figure out a way we can do both. So that might be something we do.
Maybe something with Marvel. Yeah.
That's what I think we're going to tease. Yeah, I'll tease that. We want to do something with the MCU. I don't know if it's going to be a big thing or not. We'll have to figure it out. If you guys have any suggestions about what you want to see, I know Ferris, every time I say that, Ferris Muthan always comes up with Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious.
And we will. I told him I will do a Fast and the Furious episode at some point, probably when Fast 9 does come out. But yeah, until then, we'll figure it out. But you also find me on Call to Action for the Schmodown after show. We do a lot of things with that. We're doing Chill to Action tomorrow night at 8:15 Pacific. We're having Jeff Snyder on. That should be a lot of fun with that episode. He makes everything volatile and exciting.
Oh yeah, he's an interesting character for sure.
A lot of what's going on from there. And you can also find me on PLD Projects, which is my own YouTube channel, doing some stuff with V and hopefully getting the Harrisons done sooner or later. I'm waiting for some thumbnails from Jake, my boy Jake Yakubeta, but he's been very tied up with our call to action stuff because we've been with the tournaments and everything else. It's just been nonstop content, including one last thing I will plug for call to action is next Friday night, the 25th. We are doing what's called Last General Standing, which is all the generals of the Action Army are going to be competing in a free-for-all type event, a movie trivia free-for-all type event. It should be a lot of fun. We have some guest appearances from people.
That sounds exciting.
There's about 20 to 25 generals, I think, have signed up for it so far.
Wow. Okay.
We're getting a promo. I'll spoil it. I don't care. We're getting a promo done by Nerdcrotic. Eric Rodriguez is going to do a promo for us.
Yes.
Which is fun. I haven't decided whether I want to compete or not yet. I told Alex I'll decide by the end of the day whether I want to compete or host. I might do both. I might compete and then when I get eliminated, because there's a couple of ringers, there's a couple of general ringers in there. I know one, Corey Quinto is a guy who just signed up for the generalship just to be a part of this event. And he's a fan leaguer and he's really good, supposedly. So he's he might run roughshod on his quiz shows. And one in our group already who's just a good trivia guy. So I don't have much hope of actually winning. Although I am undefeated on C2A shows. We had a little tournament we had a couple of years ago that didn't have to go anywhere where I beat you and beat Kelsey. I'm also 1.5-0 on Schmobates, and I did have a recent match against Nat and Dylan. I beat them as well, so I don't know if I want to put my undefeated title on the line right now, but we'll have to see how it goes.
If you're a true champion, you'll do it.
And I'll lose. I will totally. If I no doubts about it, I'm not going to put anything. This is not a Star Wars free for all where I might have a chance. This one, but that's the hell of it for fun. I probably end up doing anyway. I'm just having it on, but. Here it is. We're talking 10 minutes later. I think we're still plugging things. So without further ado, I'll let you guys go. Have a great night. Have a great week. We'll be back. I'll let you know as soon as we know what we're going to do next week, as soon as I know it. But until then, justice is served. Court is adjourned.